She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA.
The WNBA brass can no longer ignore what Rebecca Lobo is about to say about Caitlin Clark and the referees because it is so eye-opening. Because even if we just saw the most amazing example of the Caitlin Clark effect after the WNBA's subpar refereeing in the Fever Sun game, the same officiating has the potential to completely destroy the WNBA. And WNBA great Rebecca just raised the alarm. This is not only a logical argument. She disclosed what many in the WNBA are saying about the officiating situation behind closed doors. If we have learned anything, it is that the WNBA has learned nothing at all about how to handle its golden goose, Caitlin Clark. The league will not appreciate this, but it was necessary to say all of this. Let us examine Rebecca's remarks as well as the evolving Fever tale, which is both fantastic news in many respects and makes the WNBA's inactivity all the more concerning. First, however, enjoy this video. Since the referee's pocket whistle is obviously unused, every like equates to one extra whistle. Remember to subscribe for more updates on Caitlin Clark and Fever. The WNBA needs a refresher, so let us go back a little.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark. Two players with incredible up. Clark, another long three. She's back.
As I write this, Caitlin Clark's triumphant return was just a few games ago. She dropped 25 points in the first half, including 3 logo bombs in 38 seconds. A stretch so electric it didn't just remind fans what they were missing. It reminded the entire league who's actually driving the bus.
But here we go with Caitlin Clark, singularly, being missing for the time she was gone, and ratings tanking, 50% in some cases. And then also she comes back and reminds everyone how spectacular she is, and everybody's talking about the WNBA. So if you needed to sort of have it affirmed to you that it is just her, that the singularity of her is what we are talking about, and her star power, you got it with this absence and then the way she came back.
This was the statement of statements, the game that made everything crystal clear. The WNBA doesn't just benefit from Caitlin Clark. It relies on her. And those 5 games she missed, they weren't just a stumble. They were an exposure. Viewership dropped. Social engagement tanked. National interest flatlined. And suddenly, every WNBA storyline without Caitlin felt like background noise.
Rebecca, tell me, what does Clark's return mean for the WNBA?
Well, I mean, it means a lot more people are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous.
After weeks of crashing ratings and mounting pressure, Caitlin Clark's return didn't just lift the Fever, it lifted the entire WNBA. Their game against the Liberty peaked at 2.8 million viewers, making it one of the most watched WNBA broadcasts ever. For context, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals averaged 2.5 million viewers. And sure, comparing hockey and basketball isn't a perfect Alesto-apples match, but Caitlin Clark just outdrew a century-old men's sports league in its championship round. That's not normal. And while the significance of this seems to have been completely missed by WNBA leadership, which we'll talk about in a moment, it hasn't been lost on Rebecca Lobo, an Olympic gold medalist, Basketball Hall of Famer, and perhaps ESPN's most level-headed voice in the room. Before I get to her comments about the referees, just check out her explanation about just how seismic Clark's return was.
Sitting there at the end of the first quarter when she had that 38-second stretch where she drained deep 3 after deep 3 after deep 3, I was just sitting there thinking, I've been around this league since 1997. I have never seen that in a WNBA game. Have we seen players go on runs? Of course we have, but not like that. Not where a couple of the three-pointers are from 30-plus feet. It was an exhibition by her.
Take note of Rebecca Lobo's statement. Once again, people are watching. Though it is a small remark, it conveys a lot because it indicates that people have stopped watching if they start watching again. And we are all aware of the precise moment that occurred. While Caitlin Clark was not around, Lobo did not end there. She continued by outlining the reasons why viewers flocked back as soon as Clark was back.
It was just ridiculous. It's not often that you're watching the WNBA or that I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I've just never seen this before.
That is the problem. These were not your typical deep threes or even lengthy twos. These were from a different zip code and were logo explosives. Fans watch because few if any players are able to accomplish it on a regular basis and with such ease. Even Natasha Cloud, who has not been very kind to Caitlin's followers. I had to accept the reality. As soon as she reaches the middle, you have to protect her. This is not typical. Ask Rebecca, please.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
Because we are no longer simply talking about missed calls or difficult defense. Everything that has been going on, not just since Caitlin's comeback, but really the whole previous season and this one as well, becomes really troubling. We are discussing a trend that has become so apparent and evident that even seasoned WNBA insiders like Rebecca Lobo are speaking up, and the match against the Sun, which ought to have made everyone in the league shudder.
Hey, we would have been crashing that team.
Courtney, if somebody ever tackles you like that,
Nobody would ever tackle me like that. They would play with Bridget like that, and then we would have to like take it up there.
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying.
Nobody would ever play with me like
If
that.
that ever happened, you better crash out behind me, because I'm crashing out behind you.
T,
We can share the same jail cell.
So JCS Sheldon and Marina Berry essentially tagged Caitlin Clark mid-aim with a body check to the court and a claw to the face, but for some reason neither of them was sent off. I am not lying that Caitlin was not chirping a little with JC earlier. She was. But disparaging someone does not give you permission to attack them. You can hardly expect the league to take off by just knocking its face to the ground as it does WWE. The pundits were astounded as well. It was audible in their voices. They anticipated an expulsion. The response was the same around the league. What transpired astonished players, coaches, commentators, and fans alike.
This is JC Sheldon right here with an entire handful of Caitlin Clark's shoulder and bicep, and she's twisting it. Okay? I mean, this is wild. Here's the zoomed out look, the snapshot. I mean, this league does not have control of its players.
Naturally, Caitlin's face claw and push went viral and became the talk of the town, but it was not a singular moment of mayhem. The referees were ignoring the tension that had been building during the whole game.
You know, the game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger. You know, they're as good as they've ever been, they're as athletic as they've ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials.
And the chippiness quickly boiled after simmering. Naturally, Stephanie White was furious after the game. Even before she spoke, it was evident from her body language. She took a seat, inhaled deeply, and then completely discharged.
What was that play? Oh my god, this is rigged. This is rigged. She got yanked, fell on her hip. That's a hack! That's a hack! That's a hack! Oh my god, they hacked the one upon her and they hacked Caitlin Clark. They are both hacks. They are both hacks. They hacked Fever twice, and then there was a phantom foul called on Sabrina.
That is about as nasty as you can make fun of the referees without identifying them. You are not improving while the rest of us are. It is harsh and strikes to the heart of what a lot of players, coaches, and supporters have been experiencing. The problem is that the Sun game was not the beginning of this. Throughout the season, it has been growing. The inconsistent officiating, the missed calls, and the unfair and unprotective treatment of athletes like Caitlin Clark.
I thought she got fouled. You know, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. You know, a minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, you know, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways.
The Fever's lack of calls was evident from the beginning of the season, but it reached a breaking point during their 90-88 defeat against the Liberty. A game that became a hot potato for both participants and spectators. That evening's officiating seemed biased. While Indiana was unable to purchase a whistle, New York was receiving ticky-tack fouls. With the Liberty accumulating attempts and the Fever seldom making it to the stripe, The disparity at the free throw line was obvious. However, the dubious calls or lack thereof in the last moments were what really infuriated many. At the very end, the worst happened. On the last possession, Natasha Cloud blatantly fouled Caitlin Clark, preventing her from even attempting a shot. Social media exploded as playback after replay revealed it. Analysts criticized it. The fans were enraged. She went off with Stephanie White.
The second time where I'm attacking, it's very physical. I'm saying something to the ref, watch my landing space, watch physicality. I get laughed at, and it ends in my ankle getting turned. The same thing happened in Dallas, a flagrant that wasn't called. Same thing happened here. So my ankle is hanging in there, but it's starting to get very frustrating. I'm averaging less than 2 free throws a game, and I drive, I'm physical. I'm not someone who's avoiding contact. So I just hope that the safety of players starts to become a priority versus the ego of refs.
It is ironic that she received a punishment for this, but not for yelling at the referees after the Sun game. The league seemed to be quietly acknowledging its mistakes as if they were aware that it was unjustifiable. To be honest, they ought to acknowledge it because we need to discuss the rising dissatisfaction within the WNBA before we even discuss what Rebecca Lobo said, which is illuminating and really risky for the league.
To officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs to get better. Specifically, the consistency, not only from one game to the next, but the consistency within.
When players voice complaints about harsh play, the referees actually laugh at them rather than dismissing them. Players are laughing as they remark things like, "I am going to be wounded if this continues up." Now, let us return to Rebecca Lobo and the connection between Caitlin Clark and all of this. The bottom line is as follows. If Caitlin falls down, it's game over. Everybody is aware of it whether they will acknowledge it or not. The league, the players, the networks, and the fans. To her credit, Rebecca did not sugarcoat anything either. She said what needed to be said in the most diplomatic way possible. However, if you pay attention to what she says, it is far more worrisome than you may imagine.
One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it. So I think everybody would like to see a tighter whistle and a little bit more freedom of movement.
Now, did you catch what she said? She didn't simply say some coaches are worried. All of them. She said the officiating is a major issue according to every coach she has spoken to. And here's where it gets even worse. Because if all the coaches agree that the referees have lost control, they've now got no option except to change. They'll have to play under a new rule book. The unstated one that says if the officials won't protect our guys, we will. Things get risky at that point. And they just kept shoving Caitlin.
And they just kept shoving Caitlin. They're like, well, they can't keep calling. They can't just keep calling fouls. I'm like, they're literally just running around hacking her. The referees have made it a point that this is how you beat the fever. You hack them. You don't even, it's not being physical. You just hack them. Because the referees are going to allow them be hacked. Late in the game of the fever, hack them. Not being physical, hack them.
Just that it is similar to urging drivers to drive as fast as they want since there is not a highway police and you will fall behind if you do not speed even if it is dangerous. The WNBA is now doing just that. Because it is about survival. They are forcing players to be more aggressive even if it is dangerous by refusing to improve officiating standards. They are also aware that the referees will not intervene. We have already seen the result of it. The cheap shots, the body checks, the obvious fouls against Caitlin Clark, and the growing annoyance of coaches and supporters. And eventually, when it occurs again, it ceases to seem like an oversight and begins to resemble a message. It is open season when it comes to protecting Caitlin Clark, as the league seems to be implying. And see, I understand. Rivalries are what Kathy Angelbert desires. In an interview, she really said that gamers should not be kind to one another, and that is okay in principle. Rivalries are profitable. The game may benefit from a slight advantage. However, the WNBA does not need phony drama and dirty fouls when it comes to Caitlin Clark. So, this is a huge miscalculation. In women's sports, they already have the most talked about, watched, and marketable athlete. And we now have the ideal illustration of why. Because the next time Caitlin is knocked down, it might cost the WNBA everything, not just a game. Please let me know if you're still here by leaving a basketball in the comments. I appreciate you watching. I will see you